I'm sharing some of the absolute best crescent dough recipes I have ever made. From breakfast to appetizers, dinners, and even desserts. There's really so many different ways you can use them. And I thought it'd be fun to show you some of my favorites. Hey y'all, I'm Valerie, and welcome to my kitchen. In today's video, I'm sharing 6 delicious crescent roll recipes that you are gonna love. Now let's go ahead and get started. These honey glazed chicken minis are so good. I'm gonna go ahead and make up a sauce to pour over these. In a small saucepan, I added 1 stick of butter along with 2 heaping tablespoons of brown sugar. And instead of adding the honey mustard and Worcestershire sauce, I took those out and just used 3 big tablespoons of honey. I cooked that on low and then stirred it until it was well combined. I removed it from the heat and then set it aside. Now over to the counter, I'm using an 8-ounce tube of the refrigerated crescent dough. I just used a pizza cutter to separate the triangles. Then I'm just going to cut each triangle into 3 strips. And I'm telling you, it's a lot easier to do with a pizza cutter. And for the chicken, I'm using the Tyson Anytizers popcorn chicken. This is a 24-ounce bag. And you're just going to take a piece of that popcorn chicken and wrap it in a strip of crescent dough. And you can really use any kind of frozen chicken here. If you have the tenders, you can just cut them into smaller pieces. Or you could even wrap a chicken nugget in a crescent roll. That would be really good. And the kids would really love that. I got them all rolled up. Then I placed them in a greased 9x13 baking dish. Then I drizzled over that honey butter mixture I made up just a little bit ago. Just make sure you get a little bit of that on all the tops of those chicken minis. Now these go into the oven to bake at 375 for about 25 to 30 minutes. You'll notice that the tops start to get golden brown. These were so delicious, and that honey butter glaze really sends these over the top. This cheesy egg crescent roll casserole makes the perfect weekend breakfast. You'll need a 9x13 baking dish, and I did spray mine with nonstick spray. I'm using 2 of the 8-ounce tubes of crescent rolls. There was 8 in each tube. I opened them up and took them out of the package. Then I rolled them up like regular little crescent rolls. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, I would really appreciate it if you would give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss out on any of my future videos. After I got them all done, I set that to the side. Now to a large bowl, I added 5 eggs. I just gave those a little whisk. And to those beaten eggs, I added 1 cup of milk. And I just used 2%. I'm also adding half a cup of heavy cream. Now you can add a little salt and pepper to taste. Now you're going to whisk that, and I ended up making a mess in the process. Y'all should see the messes I make when I don't film. I can turn the kitchen upside down in a matter of like 2 minutes. I grabbed those crescent rolls along with a 2.5-ounce package of the real bacon pieces. And I'm just sprinkling those evenly on the top of those crescent rolls. And if you want, you can cook you up some bacon and crumble it up and sprinkle that over. But these bacon pieces are so much more convenient. Now over the top of all that, I'm adding 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. Now I'm drizzling over that egg mixture I made up just a little bit ago. Now this goes into the oven to bake at 375 for 23 to 25 minutes. Here it is out of the oven. And y'all, this was so easy to throw together. It's like the perfect all-in-one breakfast casserole. You can't go wrong with bacon, eggs, cheese, and crescent rolls. This is also good to make if you have family staying with you for the holidays. I'm pretty sure they would love it. These Meatball Sub Cupcakes are a fun little appetizer. The recipe calls for an 8-ounce tube of crescent rolls, but I like using a 12-ounce can instead, because I just feel like the 8-ounce can isn't quite enough bread to hold the meatballs. Okay, you can cut the dough all at once, or do like me and just work with a couple at a time. This is just 1/4 of that package right here. I took those 2 triangles and pressed the seams together to make one bigger rectangle. Then I used my pizza cutter to cut that into 3 pieces. And you're going to do the same with the rest of that dough. You're going to end up with 12 separate pieces. I'm using a regular size muffin tin for this. It's probably a good idea if you spray it with nonstick spray. Then you're going to put a piece of that crescent dough in each of those 12 cupcake holes. Just place it in there and press it against the sides to form a little cup. After you get them all in there, you can set that to the side. I'm going to make up a little cream cheese mixture. In a small bowl, I have 4 ounces of softened cream cheese, a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and 1/2 cup of shredded mozzarella cheese. Now just mix that together until it's well combined. Okay, and now it's time to assemble these. I grabbed that muffin pan and the cream cheese mixture, and I'm taking that cream cheese and dividing it evenly into each of those crescent roll cups. I'm using the Great Value Italian style frozen meatballs, and I did let them thaw a little. And I'm just placing a meatball onto each cupcake there. Now grab your favorite marinara sauce and top each meatball with about 2 tablespoons of that sauce. Now to finish these off, I'm topping each one with a little sprinkle of mozzarella cheese. Oh, and I did sprinkle on a little Italian seasoning. Now these are going into the oven to bake at 375 for 15 to 18 minutes, just until the tops start to get golden brown. Everyone is always impressed by these. They are amazing. They make a great appetizer for game day or even the holidays, and even the kids love them. And by the way, I love hearing y'all's ideas. What is your #1 favorite appetizer? These Mountain Dew Apple Dumplings are a family favorite. For this recipe, all you're going to need is 2 apples. I like the Granny Smith, but I'm pretty sure you can use any ones you like. I washed them, peeled them, then cut each apple into 8 pieces. You're going to need 2 of the 8-ounce tubes of crescent rolls. You're just going to unroll those and separate them into triangles. Okay, now I'm going to start rolling these apples up. You'll need one of those apple wedges. And we like our apples to be super tender in here, so I go ahead and cut each of those wedges in half again. That way it's 2 thinner apple slices instead of 1 big chunk. But it's just a preference thing, so you can go ahead and leave your apple in that chunk if you like. And all you do is place your apple wedge at the wide end of that crescent roll and roll it up. This is like one of my family's absolute favorite recipes. I make it all throughout the year, but we make it even more in the fall. It's just super easy to make and everybody loves it. And you're just going to continue this until you've used up all your crescent rolls and all your apples. And you shouldn't have any leftovers. unless somebody was snacking on an apple. Trust me, I've had that happen before. And I'm just transferring those apple dumplings to a greased 9x13 baking dish. Now over to the stove top, I'm going to go ahead and make up a quick glaze. You'll need 2 sticks of butter. I'll let that melt. Then you're going to add 1.5 cups of sugar. I know that's a lot of butter and sugar, but this is a treat. And trust me, it's delicious. I also added a teaspoon of vanilla and a teaspoon of cinnamon. Then you're just going to whisk that until that sugar is completely melted. And when that's melted, you can remove it from the heat and head back over to the counter. Now you're just going to take that butter-sugar mixture and drizzle it evenly on top of all those apple dumplings. And you got to make sure you cover them all. Now this is where the recipe gets its name. You're going to pour over 1 cup of Mountain Dew. And I try to pour it in between the rolls. That way it don't wash all that butter-sugar mixture off of them. And I know that seems like a lot of liquid, but those dumplings really soak it up. And that liquid thickens up and it ends up being like a syrupy glaze. You're going to bake these at 350 for 35 to 45 minutes, or until those tops are golden brown. And you can see that syrup just bubbling away. And you can serve these any way you like, but we like to have them topped with vanilla ice cream. This is one of the best fall treats for sure. I just couldn't do a best ever crescent roll recipe video without including these. And if you've tried them already, you'll have to let me know below. And trust me, they are delicious. And here's another delicious appetizer, glazed pigs in a blanket. The recipe called for 1.5 of the 8-ounce tubes of crescent rolls, but you'll see in a little bit here that I only ended up using 1. You can go ahead and unroll those, and I'll be separating them into triangles. Here's the 4 from that other can, and I'll be able to use all the leftovers on something else. You'll need a 14-ounce package of the Little Smokies. You'll need mustard. The recipe called for Dijon, but I'm using honey mustard instead. I'm only going to work with a couple at a time, so I'm setting these others to the side. I'm going to be cutting each of those triangles into 3 strips. And I did use my rolling pin just to roll them out just a little bit to make them a little bit wider. They were wanting to stick, so I had to sprinkle just a little bit of flour on there. Then you're going to add about a teaspoon of honey mustard or Dijon mustard to each of those triangles. And I just used a little silicone brush to spread it out and just make sure you get it all the way to the edges. Now you're going to cut each triangle into 3 narrow strips. And these cut so much easier with a pizza cutter. Now you're just going to lay down a little smoky on that wider end and roll it up. I'm using a 9x13 baking dish, and you probably want to spray it with nonstick spray because I did not want these to stick. I put that little crescent roll wrapped Little Smoky, and then I continued with all the rest. This part here gets a little bit messy, but you know what? They do not have to be perfect. This recipe was supposed to make 36, being the reason they called for 1.5 tubes of crescent rolls. But my package of Little Smokies only had 25 in there. And I did use a 14-ounce package, so who knows. And I never even touched that second can of crescent rolls that I opened up. And now for the glaze. In a large measuring cup, I added 1 stick of butter. I melted that. Then I added a couple tablespoons of honey mustard, a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, and 1 tablespoon of poppy seeds. And you can leave those poppy seeds out if you want. Now go ahead and mix this until it's well combined. And this is my favorite whisk, especially for things like this. I have it in my Amazon storefront, and I'll have that linked in my description box below, just in case you want to go check it out. I have a lot more of my favorite things in there also. You're just going to pour that glaze all over those little smokies. Now these go into the oven to bake at 375 for 25 to 30 minutes. Okay, all I got to say is, if you haven't ever tried these, you really need to. They are so good, and with Christmas being right around the corner, these will be perfect. Especially for all those holiday parties. These cheesy stuffed garlic butter crescent rolls are a great way to take your crescent rolls to the next level. In a small bowl, I have 3 tablespoons of melted butter, and to that, I added 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, along with 1 teaspoon of minced garlic. Now you're just going to give that a stir. You're going to set that aside. We'll be using it here shortly. You'll need some string cheese, and I'm just using the Great Value brand. Y'all, I'm trying to save money whenever I can. You're just going to need 4 cheese sticks. You can go ahead and unwrap those and cut each cheese stick in half. And y'all can use some of the other cheese sticks too, like cheddar, and I'm pretty sure they have Colby Jack. I've got my baking sheet ready to go. I have a silicone liner on mine, but you can also use parchment paper. I think I forgot to show you, but I'm using an 8-ounce can of crescent rolls. I'm working with 1 triangle at a time. I'm brushing on a little of that garlic butter that we just made up. I'm taking one of those half cheese sticks and I laid it down on the wider part, then I folded the corners or the edges in and then rolled it up. You just want to wrap it up completely, that way that cheese stays in there and don't run all over the place. It's really simple, y'all, and it don't have to be perfect. Y'all can get creative here. I can't wait to try these with Colby Jack or even something else. You can even sprinkle a little Parmesan cheese on there before you roll them up. Or you could do it after you roll them up and just sprinkle it on before you bake it. I'm sure that would make them look a little extra fancy. I'll have to do that next time. Now I'm placing all my cheese stick stuffed crescent rolls on the baking sheet. Then I'm taking the rest of that garlic butter mixture and I'm spreading it on the top. Now these go into the oven to bake at 375 for about 10 minutes, or just until they're kind of lightly golden brown. Now this is a total game changer right here. Regular crescent rolls are already so good, just how they are, but doing it this way makes them 10 times better. You just gotta trust me. These are so simple to make, and they would be perfect to go along with dinner, really any night of the week. Just look at that cheese, it's delicious. I really hope you enjoyed this video. You may also like these. Don't forget to subscribe down below for more easy recipes, and I will see you in the next one.